Have you ever wondered how your sales performance compares against your competitors and peers? The B2B Sales Benchmark Report provides the definitive guide to what success looks like in 2021. See how you compare in terms of win rate, sales cycle, average deal value, relationships, and engagement. You can see the results and get the full report at ebsta.com/B2B-sales-benchmarks. This is Sales Ops Demystified, the #1 most downloaded podcast in sales operations. We invite the brightest minds in sales operations onto the show to deconstruct the why, what, and how behind rep productivity, forecasting, metrics, and all things revenue. This podcast is brought to you by Ebsta, the leading customer engagement platform for Salesforce. Hello and welcome to another very special episode of the Sales Operations Demystified podcast. Today we're joined by someone who has a total of 8 years operations experience, approximately 6 of those in sales operations. Sergio, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
So Sergio is currently working at Western Union Business Solutions, so international payments for businesses.
Correct.
And so we're going to be going through the standard 8 questions and we're going to uncover some insights from those 6 years.
Great.
So question number 1, Sergio, how did you get into sales operations?
As you said, I've been in operation for about 8 years and already fell in love with sales operation side of things, looking at the technology part of it, working with Salesforce and Salesforce implementation and really all the application, looking at all the application that you can plug within the tool and allow people really to be more efficient, to do the job better, and to be quicker at selling and more efficient at selling. The first role that I had as a proper sales operation manager, it was in Kaplan. It was a B2C business, and so, a lot of data, a lot of volume, international operation, and it was a great gateway into the sales operation world because not only you would have the technology part, but also the resource management and the strategic side of things, which is great to explore.
So you were in the role before that, you were in operations, and you got exposed to a Salesforce implementation.
Pretty much, yes.
And then you were like, I love Salesforce so much. I'm going to transition into sales.
Well, it's not about loving Salesforce, and sometimes we get too hooked up on the tools. It's about what Salesforce and any CRM really represents. It's the engine of what of your organization in going out there and finding prospects and selling your product, helping your customers, which is what ultimately any company wants to do.
Got it. And so you joined Kaplan as in a pure sales operations role?
Yes.
And then now you just stayed the course.
Yeah, stuck with it.
And so 6 years later, we're at Western Union. And how long have you been at Western Union?
Just over a year.
Got it. And just so we understand the structure of the team, so we were talking before, there's actually multiple different parts.
Yeah. It's a complex setup. The setup that we have at Western Union. Very interesting as sales operation is not just CRM, it's not just Salesforce, it's something more than that. So we have sales enablement team with a group of very talented group of people actually looking at the training and the way people are actually exposing our value proposition to the customers. We have a performance team, we have a governance team, which I'm in, and a pricing team. All of that constitute sales operation.
Got it. And approximately how many people in all of this?
Oh God, that would be over 25, I think.
Wow.
All of it. Yeah.
And then hundreds of salespeople worldwide.
Yes. Correct.
Okay. Do you know what I've been trying to work out, like the ideal ratio between ops and reps, and for me, it's what I'm getting from these interviews is the optimum is around 1 to 25. So if you had that would mean we need to do 25 times 25 to get the total number of reps, which would probably be 4,000. Is that right?
I never looked at it that way, to be honest. To me, it's really about the outcome and the sales operation team generates. This day and age with the technology that we have, one person can do much more than what a sales operation professional would have done 10 years ago. So really, I never looked at it that way, but it's interesting. It's a very interesting way of seeing it.
Yeah, I think the most I got to was 1 to 50.
Right.
So that person must have some good tools. On that point, the current tech stack you guys are using, I can assume it's probably quite complex.
It is indeed. For us, Salesforce is very, very important. The CRM is important. We work and we operate in a regulated environment, so data that we store, we need to make sure that it's safe, it's in the right place, it's correct, and all that. And there is a lot of moving parts in making sure that is always true. In terms of what we can call the go-to-market tool, we use Altify, we use DMB, we use Sales Navigator, Eloqua. These are probably the main tools that we use from sales and marketing point of view.
Cool. And are there any other tools connected in Salesforce, or are those?
Oh, we got loads. Loads.
Okay, so we'll probably be here for like half an hour.
Probably.
Okay. Which is your favorite?
Oh God.
I asked that question as a bit of a joke because we were chatting before, right? About how all of the questions in this podcast are quite focused on tech tools, but you were saying, and if you want to repeat that, about how the tools are not necessarily that important.
Yeah, no, the tools are not important at all. I think as such, it's about the enablement of what kind of value add they add to the sales. To salespeople. In general, I love tools that take away work from salespeople as such, and give back information. Okay. The stereotype, I don't really buy into the stereotype that salespeople don't want to use Salesforce, they don't want it. I think that's just not true in most of the of the cases. It's true sometimes, but not all the times. But in terms of what I like to see in a tool that I am evaluating for some reason, I like to see that it's complete in what they would like to achieve, whether it's a CTI integration tool, whether it's a marketing tool, whether it's a prospecting tool, so that has a kind of end-to-end capabilities. What I don't like is a service that stops at some point, and then I need to complete what is there I want to do. I need to buy another plugin, or I need to, that just doesn't work for me.
I can only imagine the data quality challenges you have with your Salesforce org and these disparate teams and disparate salespeople. What are you currently doing to, who's responsible for that? Is that your team or is that one of the other teams? And what are you doing?
Right, it's, we don't have a centralized function responsible for the data as such. Data is a big thing in not only in Western Union, any company I work with. I was reading the other day that actually data is worth more than oil in during these days, and that gives you the sense of what it actually means dealing with such a sensitive sort of topic. So yes, we do a lot of the data checks, and we put in place governance around the way data should be inputted into the tool. Then we have different part of the business looking at that data, making sure that there is correct. The way I can say it is that ultimately, from sales operations or sales and go-to-market perspective, when you look at the data that there is into the CRM, the salespeople are ultimately responsible for that. I can come in and clean up. I can, come in and say, "Oh, you're doing things wrongly," or beat you up, right? But it's not my responsibility as such. I mean, the ultimate accountability is with the people that are actually putting the data, the data in. That's the way I think. I always see it anyway.
Yeah.
The accountability resides where the people actually are inputting the data.
But how do you get them to want to put in good data? Because it's hard. Then the next question is about getting buy-in from the sales team.
Right. So that's again, one of the things that is probably more than a myth than anything. To be honest, in my career, yes, I had the old salesperson saying, I spent too much on the CRM, there's too many fields, blah, blah, blah. I think the sentiment around this is shifting massively. Sales organization, sales function are recognizing the importance of inputting data, and they don't recognize it just because we tell people it's because it's in fashion to say to work around data, but because function such as sales operation has given back to them insights, something that they could use, something that they could do something with, so yes, when you roll out a new procedure or a new field or whatever it is that it requires anybody really to spend one more second on the CRM, you're going to have people moaning, but I think this is changing. I think it's getting easier to get that buy-in you were talking about. And, more and more, I'm seeing the people that are actually good with the CRM etiquette, the CRM cadence, are good at selling.
Interesting.
So,
because would you say that historically that isn't the case?
I'm not sure whether that isn't the case, but I couldn't see that.
Yeah.
I couldn't have, the benchmark and, there weren't enough data to give me that truth, Now I can see the structured thinking, especially in a B2B environment, in a fintech environment, or in a technology environment, where salespeople are less, hardcore sell, but more consultant, more project manager. As companies are making that shift in that sales organization, you can see the more structured thinking in the selling process is leading to better data, better cadence, and is helping everybody at the end of the day. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, that's the first time that's come up actually. You're basically saying that the more structured approach to selling is required now, and that person is normally better at maintaining the sales process and CRM.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. You said earlier about liking tools that give salespeople time and then present them data. What are you guys currently doing at the moment to make your reps more productive?
Well, we're always on the lookout, for not only for new tool, we're not going to a buying spree, sort of thing. But I think one of the things that I do is making sure that we get the best out of the tool that we have. It's the famous phase 2 never comes. I think it's our role as sales operation professional to make sure that phase 2 actually does. arrive, and we take care of it, and we make sure that we actually deliver on it. When you do an implementation on your new data integrator or things like that, you always focus on getting it over the line and rolling it out. And it's very hard to keep the momentum going. I think our focus at the moment is to make sure that we really get the return of investment in the existing tools that we have invested in.
Got it. Quick question that isn't actually on the standard questions. Are your team responsible for building the sales forecast?
The sales performance team is, yes.
And that fits within, because you're in the governance?
Yeah, it sits within sales operation, but it's outside strictly talking my team, yeah.
Okay, and quickly on that, do the people in sales ops then work directly with the reps to understand what their own individual forecasts are, and then roll that up?
Well, we work on a global scale, trying to put together, data from different geography, time zones, people, cadence, you can imagine. But yes, the short answer is yes, we do. We kind of try to have a bottom-up approach as much as possible. So keep your ear on the ground and, rolling those numbers up to, then the highest level possible, the global level.
Cool. Can we quickly talk about KPIs?
Yeah.
Which, I'm going to change the question slightly. What do you think is the most important KPI to judge a sales rep by?
I'm going to be controversial here. I'm going to say the more they lose, the better.
Interesting.
Yes.
Tell me more.
I was telling you about how sales people are recognizing that we're giving them insights. Okay. To me, yes, it's important that the salespeople sell. Okay, it's really, really important. Okay, but it doesn't really give me too many learnings. I want to learn from the lost deals. There is a tendency in a lot of companies to hide under the carpet all those deals that we have lost. Okay, and it's any company, it's only human behavior, and this is about getting sales operation out of its own comfort zone. As I was saying, not only technology, sometimes we need to be behavioral scientists, okay? And make that shift in culture to say, why don't we talk about lost deal and why did we lose so many deals without pointing fingers of anything, but are we going after the wrong segment? Do we have the wrong product? Are we focusing on the wrong things, right? And I think sales operation need to be the driver of those things. Yes, everybody wants to do loss reviews. I heard that so many times. But actually doing it, and I'm going to be honest, it's not something that you can get a great deal of time of people, because it's not interesting. Let's be honest, salespeople would rather spend their time selling. Okay, and that's only fair, but how do we make sure that we are spending every single pound, dollar, or euro into the right place? I think this is one of the ways.
Nice. So you're essentially saying the more a rep loses, the more that you're, as an organization, able to learn, which in the long term is going to bring more wins.
Yeah, it's like machine learning,
yeah, exactly.
It's the same concept.
Yeah, like a feedback. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then there's a question that we don't actually have again in the list that I want to ask about the more strategic side. Who is setting the sales strategy, and then what sales operations role in executing that strategy once it's been set?
Yeah, I think this is something that sales operation, again, it wasn't within this function when I started in sales operation back on customers operation. back almost 10 years, 10 years ago. And this is something that sales operation is starting to own more and more, as the function is actually growing. And this podcast is testimony of that. There's more interest in this function than it used to be probably 10 years ago. But on the strategy side, I think sales operation has the role sometimes to divert the traffic. Okay, more like a traffic warden sort of approach. Okay, and making sure that everybody goes to the right place at the right time. And everybody then is made accountable for what they said. Again, not in a pointing finger sort of fashion, but let's go back to what we said we were going to do from a strategic point of view, not only from a financial and revenue point of view, and see how we're tracking again against those goals that we set ourselves, right? How do we do all of that? First of all, there is a mindset and a framework that you need to lay down when you do your planning, whether it's mid-year or end of the year, whatever the fiscal year starts in the company. So there is a lot of thinking and actually, stepping back and looking at the big picture, trying then to put all the people together, marketing, product, sales, and have those conversations. And then it loops back to the last deal. What have we learned from our past 12 months? Okay, and how do we take into the next 12, the next 3 years, the next 5, 10, 15?
Nice. And final question is about who has influenced or inspired you the most in the world of sales operations?
Oh, okay. I don't have one person, to be honest with you. If I have to think back, I've been blessed because I work with amazing business leaders. I don't want to even call them sales operation leaders because that would be probably reductive. They're all around business leaders, and I have learned so much from them. It's unbelievable, really. Probably the person who got me off into start using Excel, Andrew, if I have to name one, who when I was back at CPO, told me I will teach you one Excel formula every day, and that's what we were doing. I was the finance director back then, and that was sparked the interest. I think more than anything, I need to thank all the people that taught me what not to do. All the mistakes that I've seen making and that I've made. These are the people that taught me, what not to do in certain situation because probably they made that mistake. For me sometimes.
Nice. Okay, so I normally summarize the things that I liked.
Okay.
What I saw twice from you actually, which is quite interesting, is learning not from what went well, but what actually didn't go well, like the lost reviews, and then what people did badly. So that's quite interesting. I liked the point you made about so any tool that can give time back to reps, but also give them information or data. And then the overall point about tools not necessarily being that important, is more about what impact they can have on your sales process.
Absolutely, yes. I think as sales operation, we're getting too much hooked up on the big names and on the flashy marketing, and which is fine. We only human. And that tells me two things. First, that this space is growing massively. There's more investments coming, and there's so many exciting things that are happening in this space. But as a sales operation professional, we need to stay laser focused on execution, because ultimately, if you have to summarize in one word, one sentence, that's what we're there for: enabling execution.
Enabling execution. And on that note, that was an immensely valuable session. You clearly think a lot about sales operations. I'm sure that was super valuable for the audience. So Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Sales Ops Demystified podcast. If you are listening on a podcast listening application, then please subscribe, rate, and review. And if you have any questions about the show, if you know a guest, or if you have any questions about sales operations, just hit me up at tomhunt@ebster.com. That's tomhunt@ebster.com.